Namaskar and a very good afternoon. Welcome to the weekly Currency Insights. I'm your host and guide, Anindya Banerjee. It has been a phenomenal week for the Indian rupee, though it did not appreciate against the dollar, but it did so quite strongly against the euro, pound, and yen. In fact, July mid-say, Indian rupee has become one of the strongest currencies in the world. The reason being the FPI flows. FPI flows has changed direction. Up till June, it was strongly negative. From June, it has turned positive. So, जब FPI start to buying the Indian equity and debt, it is positive for the Indian rupee. Now, क्योंकि there is a lot of talk around that Indian government bonds will get included in the global bond indices between September and November, and that can lead to lumpy flows into the Indian market, and that has created a positive sentiment around the rupee. Third, oil prices are low, 91 ke aaspaas hai Brent. That is also positive for India, and plus RBI is actively intervening in the market. Before we come to the data, let's see what RBI has done on a week-on-week basis. ये साल RBI's FX assets, which is a major component of the FX reserves, is down around $77 billion. Now, very interestingly, we have segregated that into two factors which have contributed to that $77 billion drop in the RBI's FX reserves. Close to 36 odd billion dollars is because of RBI selling in the spot market. As I said, that RBI has been an active seller of dollars to keep the rupee stable. But at the same time, RBI has lost close to $41 billion because of dollar strength. Because RBI holds a certain amount of reserves in other currencies like euro, pound, etc. So when those currencies depreciate against the dollar, and every week RBI has to report the FX reserves and FX assets in dollar terms, automatically there is a translation loss or a valuation loss, and that's what we are seeing. So 77 billion may 41 billion is because of the loss of valuation. The other $36 billion is because of the actual sales of the RBI. And because of this actual sales of the RBI, Indian rupee has not been able, or rather USDINR has not been able to break above the 80 mark. So it has achieved a certain degree of stability. So when other currencies are depreciating against the dollar, Indian rupee is not able to break below the 80 mark. So automatically Indian rupee becomes one of the strongest currencies in the world. जो इकोनॉमी एक डेटा था ये हफ्ता, Indian CPI and the Indian IIP, so basically the industrial production numbers and the inflation, that was not so good because inflation came higher than expected and the industrial growth slowed. US CPI was strong, in fact, much stronger than expected. And right after the release of the US CPI, what happened? The odds for a hike by 75 basis point has become almost certain. Even the odds for a 100 basis point hike has increased from 0 to 25%. And the Fed meeting is the coming week. So that's going to be an important event to watch. We'll come to that later. Let's now come to the charts. USDINR, if you look at the chart, it has been very choppy range since mid of July. ये जो जुलाई में एक fall था from here all the way from 80 all the way down to 78 half, and that is the reason why so in fact since then the USDINR has gone into a sideways range. 79 के आसपास या उसके नीचे से the demand is coming, and close to 80 80 10 or 80 20 levels, it's getting stuck. Now, how to trade this market? One thing is that you wait for the range extremes to fade the move. So closer to 80 10, you can go short because your stop loss is smaller. But we can understand if you look at the global markets, the pressure is upward on USDINR, but because it's still oscillating in a range, you can take those bets that closer to 80 10, you can go short with a stop loss above 80 20 on, or rather 80 25 on the September futures. But if it breaks out above 80 25 and sustains, then reverse your positions to long. And closer to 79 20 or below, it is an opportunity to go long with a stop loss below 79 on a daily closing basis. Now, in between, you can sell options. We prefer iron flies over straddles or strangles. क्योंकि ये जो sharp moves है, these can definitely trigger the stops on your straddles and strangles. Iron flies are better. Iron fly में क्या होता है? You short an ATM straddle and you buy a strangle. So it's a hedge position. Margin required is almost half of what you would pay on a straddle, and you can hold the position till expiry. You don't have to have a well-defined stop because it's a hedge position. So if the market is doing these kind of false breakouts or false breakdowns, uh, these kind of position like the iron fly is quite beneficial because you can hold till expiry, and when the market comes back towards the ATM straddle level, you can book profits. So this is the overall price structure. To recap, closer to 79, 20 is an opportunity to buy with a stop loss below 79. 80, 10 ke aspas, you can take a short bet with a stop above 80, 25, but above 80, 25 on the futures, if it starts to trade and sustain, it's a clear sign to go long. Euro INR, the trend is clearly bearish, lower highs and lower lows. And Europe, may we know because of the energy crisis, which is very much a major risk for entire Europe. It's going to be a tough winter, and that's the reason why European economy will be under pressure. Inflation, the high cost of living is going to have a very bad impact on the eurozone economy. ECB is hiking rates, and they are sounding very hawkish. जिससे कारण euro is getting that support from time to time, but the broad structural trend is going to be negative because जब तक economic strength नहीं आएगा तब तक currency just cannot rise on the basis of a hawkish central bank. So, and plus, if you look at the real rates in eurozone, with inflation close to double digit and the ECB rates still below 1%, the real rates are big time negative. So even if the ECB is hiking, the very large negative real rates and uh, I would say very bearish forecast on the economy. The trend for the Euro INR is downward, but we will get the short covering rallies. That those are opportunities to basically take positional shorts on the Euro INR. But keep in mind when you're trading the Euro, Pound, or Yen, these are currencies where you have to trade through futures, and these are extremely volatile. Overnight, there are big gaps. So either you trade intraday, or if you're taking positional bets, do with very small size position so that if it gaps against you, you can exit the market with a manageable loss. So keep that in mind when you are trading these currencies because we have seen umpteen number of clients making this gross mistake that they take large positions and that too overnight or position, and then they're stuck with the trade and they lose big tons of money as the market goes 7-8% against them. So keep that in mind. Coming to GBP INR, the overall economic data was pretty bad. Inflation had come down, that's okay. But if you look at the retail sales numbers, which is a reflection of the consumer spending, that is shown a deep contraction on a month-on-month basis in August, and it's not good news because Bank of England meets next week, and they are supposed to do a 75 basis point hike. But considering the economic trajectory, those odds can come down to 50 bips. So UK is also in a spot of bother, but they are relatively better than Eurozone, considering that UK may the government has stepped in and trying to basically provide a backstop to consumers and businesses against this energy price spike. But that kind of a backstop is definitely going to take a toll on the fiscal health because the fiscal situation in UK was not good even before this particular announcement. So with the current announcement, the subsidy bill can be quite large for the UK government. So yes, pound may be better off than euro, but overall the trajectory of GBP/INR can be downward because of the issues that entire Europe is facing by way of energy prices. And the trend, as we see, the price action is clearly bearish. We have lower lows and lower highs. Again, as I said, wait for a pullback to short because you are seeing these sharp pullbacks along the way. So those are opportunity to take positional bets. And once again, it is advisable that you stick your the large part of your trade can be intraday, and for overnights you carry only small positions because you can manage the losses if the market gaps against you. So keep that in mind. Finally, the yen INR with the US yields at the highest level since 2007, 10-year, 2.5. That is bad news for the yen because wahan pe Bank of Japan is still doing quantitative easing through yield curve control. So therefore, there is a clear-cut monetary policy divergence between US Fed and Bank of Japan, and that's the reason why dollar yen has shot up to uh, uh, multi-decade highs. In fact, it's the highest level since the Asian financial crisis. That was N90s, and that's the reason why ENR has collapsed. And because of which, there has been a lot of noise over this week about intervention from Bank of Japan in the market. They have not yet done so, but they have made a lot of overtures. Just a current, we saw a bit of to and fro movement in the dollar yen and yen INR. Over there, in this currency, again, better you stick with intraday trades because the intervention, if it happens, it may happen during the either late US session or early Asia, the Asian time when our markets will be shut, and it can suddenly gap when we open. So it is advisable in yen INR, stick with intraday trades and avoid taking positional bets because the 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 structure of the market is such that it can invite a Bank of Japan intervention. Next week, the two major central bank meetings to watch. One is the Fed, other one is the Bank of England. Fed is expected to hike by 75 basis points and sound quite hawkish. So that is the reason why dollar is rallying. हो सकता है कि buy the rumor and sell the fact kind of a thing may happen. That we may see a correction, downward correction in the dollar index post the Fed announcement, or Bank of England may हो सकता है उल्टा if the GBP keeps falling into the Bank of England announcement, it may do a short covering rally. But we don't have very high hopes on the Bank of England's guidance because they have been very, uh, uh, we would say, dovish on their outlook. They have been warning about the risk of a recession in UK for some time now. So considering the economic data has turned bad, we don't think that Bank of England will sound much hawkish this time either. So the overall trajectory of pound remains downward and dollar up, but volatility is going to increase. So that's it, folks. This is Anand Banerjee signing off. A fantastic day ahead.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.